Now you can listen to Wine and Dine Radio while shopping at the grocery store or your neighborhood wine merchant. Wine and Dine Radio can be heard using your wireless internet on your cell phone. You're listening to iWineRadio. iWineRadio is a production of Food Tastes Better with Wine on the web at iWineRadio.com. Hey guys, I thank you for listening to iWineRadio, and we are still the only wine channel on iTunes Radio. If you go look under iTunes Radio icon and scroll down to News and Talk Directory, and it's listed alphabetically, click on that and the stream comes up immediately. iWineRadio.com, where you can find links to individual guests. And if anyone's interested in advertising or becoming an underwriter or sponsor, please contact us at iWineRadio.com. We really, really appreciate your support. The more support we get, the more conversations I can have with fascinating people around the world, including you. If you have a story to tell that you'd like to share on iWineRadio, go to iWineRadio.com and contact us, and we'll go from there.
Hi. I'm Michael Martini. I'm the third-generation winemaker for the Louis M. Martini Winery, and I'd like you to join us August 16th through 18th for the Fantasy Camp of Rock and Roll and Louis M. Martini Cabernet Camp combined in the Napa Valley.
Who doesn't like rock and roll, truly? I don't care what age you are. Well, we have an event that we're going to talk to you about today, and for those of you who have the time, especially, and the resources, you might want to jump on this ASAP. The Louis M. Martini Winery will host a very unique event August 16th through the 18th, which they are billing as the Wine, Wisdom, and Rock Experience. Third-generation winecrafter Mike Martini will host the event at the winery in the Napa Valley of California. The event will combine a rock and roll fantasy camp with an inside look at how some of the finest wines in the world are made, and there are only 12 slots available. Joining us today on Wine and Dine is Mike Martini, and we thank you so very much for your time today. And I want to ask you right off the bat, the most logical thing that I just have got to get an answer for is this your fantasy?
Well, sort of is my fantasy. I play in a band.
Oh, I knew it. Okay, so...
we've been together we're a garage band, very much a garage band, so the caliber of musicians we're bringing in for this event are extreme compared to what we do, but it's been fun, and I've been playing music for, about 25, 30 years.
Is Ed Sabraja on your...
Yes, he is.
I figured as much. I have a CD from Behringer years ago of him doing the Bully. Wow.
That was us. I'm the guitar in the background.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. So are all of your buddies that are on your band, are they participating as well?
No, this is actually, this is way upscale to us.
Okay.
We are bringing in the lead guitarist on this is Joe Satriani, which is, he's world famous. He was discovered by Mick Jagger when Mick Jagger did his first solo tour. Wow. Joe was his guitar player. And since then, he's been up for a series of Grammys. He's multi-platinum record producer. I mean, an amazing guitarist. Teaches other guitarists like Stephen Vai and anyway, he's got a long list of them. So he's a teacher, and he is a phenomenal guitar player himself. And it's kind of an interesting lineup. Actually, I think the keyboard is coming in from the Guns N' Roses.
Oh my gosh!
And he was one. Of course, all of these bands, they process a lot of different musicians through them over time, called band politics.
Yes.
But this is Teddy Andreades, and he's the piano harmonica player, a singer. The drummer is out of Black Sabbath. Is Vinny Appice. and at one point in time, but then he went off and started his own band up. But he was with Black Sabbath when vocalist Ozzy Osbourne was there. We have Kip Winger of Winger is coming in, who's a composer and again a multi-platinum record artist, guitarist, and Kane Roberts, who plays behind Alice Cooper. So we have quite a ramp, and these guys are the teachers. So they're going to be at the winery for 3 days, teaching their lessons that they've learned over time in playing rock and roll to the 12 lucky guys or girls that get it. We were kind of posing this as the Father's Day thing, but I guess a father could be a mother in this day and age.
Okay. Oh my gosh! So I have so many questions for you. So you kind of segued into how do people? Do they have to apply for this, or is it just like for the people who
They have to buy a ticket for it, and there's two ways you can get to the site.
Okay.
One of them is you go into the rockcamp.com, and you take their Napa Valley flag, and that'll track you into what it's all about and how to sign up. Or you can go to the Lewis M. Martini website. I mean, not website, but Facebook page, and it's posted on the page. And just go click on the picture of the little emblem of the Louis Martini Rock Camp.
Okay.
And just click on the emblem, and it'll take you right into the same page as you would if you went in to rockcamp.com.
So there is a fee associated with this, right?
Correct.
Okay, so it really is then a matter of first come, first serve, whoever gets...
It absolutely is.
So
it's not something you want to sit around and think about too hard.
Exactly.
Go out and buy it for your husband or buy it for your father or whatever it happens to be.
And does it include overnight accommodations? Where are people staying on the...
Yes, it includes... We have accommodations for them. Their meals are all included. Of course, wine's included. And simultaneous to the rock camp that's going on, we're doing a Cabernet camp.
Yes. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so what we're doing, and I've done this for the last couple of years, and it's a really in-depth look at the making of Cabernet. So you'll be tasting, French oak versus American oak. You'll be tasting different appellations or vineyards, so you get the concept of terroir. You'll be tasting and doing your own blends, so that you learn how to blend flavors and taste and so forth and so on. So we'll be intertwining that and the lessons. I've been making wine for 36 years, and the lessons that I've learned over my lifetime, and the lessons that all these musicians have learned over their lifetime in a very intimate, close system. They'll be forming two bands out of this, and each one gets to compose its own music, and at the end we'll have a little mini concert at the winery, and they get to perform for an appreciative audience.
Holy moly! How do people get involved in the audience?
They are our upper echelon of the Louis Martini Wine Club at this point.
Okay. That makes sense. Of the wine.
So you
club.
can join really fast, and spend a bunch of money on Louis Martini wines, and you can come.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm curious. The rock and roll professionals that you have coming, are they all diehard Louis Martini Cabernet fans as well?
They will be when they're done.
So how did you pick these guys? How did that process come about?
Well, the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp is in Las Vegas, and it's been going on for a number of years.
Oh.
So they actually came up with the different players.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Most of these guys I haven't met. I've met Joe Satriani once, briefly, very briefly. He probably doesn't remember, although I do. He's a much bigger name than I am. And other than that, these other gentlemen I haven't met. Of course, you've seen them perform on stage, television, YouTube, and things like that. But I haven't personally met them. So the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp has been going on for a number of years, and I hear it is just a phenomenal experience.
And everybody's well behaved?
Everybody's well behaved. They usually take like 25, I think, at a time and form 5 different bands.
Oh, wow.
And it's for a week-long camp in Las Vegas or some other place they so choose. In this case, we're choosing Louis Martini Winery.
And 12 people.
And 12 people.
And
that's really what we have the facility to handle in setting up a couple different bands, because they have to practice together and play together quite a bit. And these guys will sit in with them and play with them, too. So.
Oh, my gosh. And is all this being video recorded, or...
I would assume that it will be video recorded. However, what they do with the video, I'm sure, has got so many licenses tied to it. I have no idea where it's going.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Okay, so tell us, so you've given us kind of an outline. So talk to us about what a day will look like. People wake up at, 6:30, 7 in the morning, they have breakfast, and then they have to...
They have breakfast, and the transportation will be supplied to bring them to the winery. Okay. That way they can drink heavily.
Okay.
So then we haven't worked out the absolute finite details as to how we break it up, but I think what's going to be happening is that the first thing we'll be slotting in the musicians, as the individuals that participate and where they fit in and so forth, and forming bands or teams up like that, and then we'll be interchanging the lessons of winemaking, going and tasting tanks and maybe walking out in the vineyard. August is the perfect time because it's just before harvest, and the grapes should be ripe enough that we can actually taste flavors in the grapes. So we'll take some excursion into vineyards and taste grapes, and then taste the different types of wine that we can make out of different styles and things like that as the tools. So that'll be interlaced within practice sessions where they go in and have to get together as a band, and they're going to write a song. Each band gets to write music, and so they'll have their own creation at the end of this, and then they have to practice it and come out and play it. So it's going to be intertwined throughout the day between wine and rock and roll.
And then how about evening time?
And then the evenings, we're probably going to drink a lot and eat a lot and party a lot. I think there's going to be some open jam sessions with acoustics and stuff like that. In fact, I believe one of the mornings we have an open mic acoustic jam out in the vineyard behind the winery.
I was wondering if you were going to do it out in the vineyard.
Yeah, well, we'll be doing some of that out in the vineyard. It's kind of hard to get all the electronic equipment out there because we don't have a power source. But
yeah. Oh, okay. This is just blowing my mind. I would like to be just there to watch all this process. And
yeah, me too.
Does the music include lyrics or just the notes?
No, I believe it includes lyrics too. So yeah, it's up to the individual bands. A lot of these players are songwriters themselves.
Okay.
But sometimes in reference, I've never heard Joe Satriani sing, but he writes a lot of the music, most all of the music that he plays actually. So
it occurs to me that the end result will very much be a function of what kind of instrumentalist or vocalist you get who sign up for this.
Correct. And I think maybe a little bit of it is in the signing up process is you will be selected so that we have
a balance.
Drummers, 2 lead guitar players, 2 keyboard players, so forth and so on, and that'll give us a set of 2 bands.
But if someone plays the trumpet or something like that, I wouldn't. I mean, a lot of bands have trumpets. There's certain things that if you play whatever instrument you play, I wouldn't stop from applying.
Right. I'm sure that's a part of the questions when you sign up, though.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, Michael, thank you. We're going to go to a short break here. And when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Michael Martini, third-generation winemaker, Louis M. Martini Winery, hosting a wine camp, a Cabernet camp, and a rock and roll camp August 16th through the 18th. We'll be right back, and we thank you for listening to Wine and Dine. When you're thinking of Napa Valley, definitely the grape variety that comes to mind is Cabernet Sauvignon. And we have with us today on Wine and Dine Michael Martini of Louis M. Martini Winery, who is been around for what did you say, Mike? You yourself personally have been who've been the head winemaker since 1977, and if you could define your style of winemaking, what would it be?
I would say compared to most California wineries, we're a little more international, meaning European style, a little higher type of acid, a little more mid-palate. So we have a mid-palate mouthfeel. I really try to incorporate umami into my winemaking, which is the savory quality that you get in mid-palate on food. A little softer style. I'm not a big brash style, I don't think. Very velvety, texturally, but very true to whatever we're trying to accomplish. So we have like 5 layers of wine, and those that are particular vineyards are terroir-driven. Those that are particular appellations are appellation-driven. And we try to use our process to accent those points that are naturally given to us.
It occurs to me that the language you just used is applicable to a conversation about music, even umami.
Oh, absolutely. It absolutely is. In fact, it was such a pleasure because a lot of Americans don't really know what umami is unless you're into cooking. And it's a major function of one of the senses of cooking. You know, there's all sweet, sour, bitter, and umami. And when you're at a chef's school or something like that, and I take classes in cooking because I love to cook, umami comes up all the time. Literally yesterday, I was giving a tour of our winery to a couple of CEOs from Japanese companies, and as soon as I mentioned umami, they knew exactly what I was talking about because that's where the term came from. You know?
Yes. And when is part of the way that music is judged for appreciation of music and even longevity of music based on the layers, the complexity, the layering of the different instrument and et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I think you're 100% right there. You know, I mean, the people that have been timeless, that have just stayed around forever, you know, and are the people that really do have, you know, an awful lot to offer within one song. You know, so it is the complexity of the instrumentation layered on with the vocals and so forth and so on. You know, I suppose long range, the really famous songs are the songs themselves and the wording, but you get some bands that just make it happen, and it is really how that band comes together.
It's a reflection of a point in time. I mean, of the energy all coming together. Correct,
and as a musician, you know, when it really hits properly, it feels so good.
I know. I sing in a chorus every once in a while. I know what you're talking about. It's very addicting.
Yes.
Talk to us about the 8 lessons from 80 years of winemaking.
That is really, you know, they're life lessons that we learn from a lot of things. I think probably I mentor a lot of young winemakers now, and probably the hardest lesson to teach the young is patience.
Oh, yes.
And it's just critical. Patience is timing. I mean, you know, in music, timing obviously is critical. If you come in at the wrong time, you're going to be off key, and you're not going to sound good. But it's the same thing in wine. If you move and take it out of a barrel too soon, or if you're on the skins in fermentation, or you pick too early, you got one shot at it, and you blow that. And you know, so a lot of times it really pays to be patient and let Mother Nature take care of things. But you have to have gone through it a couple times in order to see that. And then once you've done that, once you've left it, say, you take one wine that you say, okay, I don't care what happens to this wine, I'm going to leave it on the skins for 7 weeks, and then I'll taste it every day, and 7 weeks from now, I'll say, 3 weeks ago, I should have gotten off the skins. so that's teaching young people that haven't been through that experience yet. You don't want to go waste the tank every time you teach a new winemaker. So
exactly, that's a luxury that you can't afford.
Right, exactly. Perseverance. You know, when you do make that mistake and you're 7 weeks out there, you learn from that mistake, and you come back at it. You know, in winemaking, we have one shot a year, and it's called harvest. And all the decisions that we make after that are perseverance, but just perseverance of staying in business. I mean, we grow grapes, we're staked on the grape, and every time we turn around, Mother Nature throws a new disease at us or something that we've got to fend off or find a new rootstock for. And so it's an ongoing process of research and survival, and likewise, you know, in the business market, you know, the selling of wine is over the years since we came in 80 years ago, and this is one of the reasons we're doing this rock and roll camp is it's our 80th celebration. But the perseverance of staying in business, you know, gets you there. And all of that adds up to, you know, it's to master anything at all, you need to really learn everything that goes into it. And a lot of that, again, is being around long enough, I know when I started winemaking, and my father was the winemaker before me, and I'd worked the fermenting room with him before he actually turned it over to me in 74, 5, and 6. And I said, God, if I knew now what he knows, that I would be able to, make these decisions that 30 years from now, the wines are going to be great, because he's had that experience base. My problem is now is 36 years later, and I can make those decisions, and hopefully I can teach young people those decisions, and they're not too strong-minded about it. But unfortunately, I probably won't be alive long enough 30 years from now to see them mature properly. And that all adds up to, there's lots of different routes to getting to where you want to go. I said the classic experience in my life is my father had made wine most of his life, and finally in 1976, because I took over in 77, he went to France with André Telechap, and he came back with his eyes wide open. He goes, "You have to do this as you start your career, not at the end of your career."
Yeah.
Because you really, there's different ways to accomplish things. And it had a massive effect on the style of Louis Martini. I learned things in France from the Bordeaux winemakers, little things, and you can't directly apply them, but you get the ideas to come back and experiment with your grapes and your climates. To actually incorporate into your system some of the things that they do, so that's a reflection upon the long range aspects of it. Obviously, you have to learn from your mistakes, and the other thing is that taught us over time, and this works as a band for sure in music, is that the success of any one of us is going to bring everybody else up. By virtue of you're as weak as your weakest link. Well, the opposite is true too. You're as strong as your strongest link. So if someone rips out a great guitar lead or something like that makes the whole band look good. Well, in the industry, if one person succeeds, and let me take the example of something that everybody knows about, White Zinfandel.
Yeah.
White Zinfandel, a whole lot of people didn't drink wine before White Zinfandel because it had to taste like White Zinfandel for them to like it. Mm-hmm. But guess what? They learned how to pull a cork.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And a lot of those people ended up drinking Louis Martini Cabernet 15 years later.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. So that's something that I think that if you're working together as an industry, that it really helps. I think that's a very, very important. And obviously, one of the strongest things that run through all of this is passion. Mm-hmm. If you have passion, all of what I just talked about is no longer work. It's what you want to do and pursue because you love it.
Music included.
Music is absolutely right down the lines with these.
Wow. Well, you know what? This is a crazy thought, but if there's anyone, if there's anyone who would like to share their experience after attending your Cabernet camp and the rock and roll camp together at Louis Martini Winery, I would love to interview them when the week
sounds like a great idea.
The week or two after.
I'm sure there will be those individuals that do. That sounds like a great idea.
Well, Michael, we would like to thank you so very much for joining us today on Wine and Dine, and I hope we can help sell these 12 spots really quickly.
Okay.
You're listening to Wine and Dine. Now you can listen to Wine and Dine Radio while shopping at the grocery store or your neighborhood wine merchant. Wine and Dine Radio can be heard using your wireless internet on your cell phone. You're listening to iWineRadio. iWineRadio is a production of Food Tastes Better with Wine on the web at iWineRadio.com. Hey guys, I thank you for listening to iWineRadio, and we are still the only wine channel on iTunes Radio. If you go look under iTunes radio icon and scroll down to News and Talk Directory, and it's listed alphabetically, click on that and the stream comes up immediately. iWineRadio.com, where you can find links to individual guests. And if anyone's interested in advertising or becoming an underwriter or sponsor, please contact us at iWineRadio.com. We really, really appreciate your support. the more support we get, the more conversations I can have with fascinating people around the world, including you. If you have a story to tell that you'd like to share on iWine Radio, go to iWineRadio.com and contact us, and we'll go from there.